Welcome to the University of Michigan Dentistry Podcast Series, promoting oral health care worldwide.
My purpose today is to demonstrate the speech examination of a child with cleft lip and palate. Speech is a multifaceted activity, complex in its organization, and dependent on a variety of developmental, physical, and psychological and social factors, all of which contribute to the normal development of speech. If for any reason these factors do not develop satisfactorily, then of course speech is likely to be impaired. Most children have developed ability to talk in sentences by the time they are 3 years of age. And by that time, the child will have a mastery of at least 12 of the 25 consonants that we normally use in speaking. In fact, many of them will have developed mastery of all 25 of the consonants, and they will be able to communicate in relatively complex sentences. Will be able to communicate with children and with adults. When they fail at this level of behavior, we suspect that there may be adverse influences from one or more of the several etiologic factors that I just listed. The child with cleft lip and palate is somewhat more handicapped than the average child, particularly because of the inadequate lip function and palatopharyngeal function. His speech problems may also be attributable to hearing loss, to motor disabilities, to language retardation, dental malocclusion, phonatory disorders, sensory deficits involving vision or oral sensation, systemic disorders such as glandular dyscrasias or congenital heart disease, mental retardation, emotional disturbances, environmental deprivation, and a number of other factors. The job of the speech pathologist is to assist other members of the evaluative team in identifying some of the factors which may interfere with speech and language development. I have with me this afternoon Todd, who's going to help me in my examination because he's able to demonstrate some of the things that we want to show. Todd, will you tell us how old you are?
7.
And do you go to school now?
Mm-hmm.
What grade are you in?
First.
In the first grade. Now, Todd has had several problems, including the cleft lip and palate. He also had a congenital heart defect. He's had some problems with his ears. Are you wearing tubes in your ears right now? And can you hear pretty well?
Yeah.
I think we can demonstrate this afternoon that he has benefited from the otologic treatment that he's had. He may have had some delay in the past in meeting some of the developmental milestones that we often refer to, but he's made remarkable progress in his development of speech. Todd had his lip repaired when he was about 11 days of age. Let's just take a look here for a moment. Now put your lips together. And he had 3 stages of palatal repair up until the time he was 4 years of age, and then last August he had a pharyngeal flap. One of the first things we try to do is to evaluate conversational ability. Todd, would you tell me what you did in school this morning? Can you remember what you did?
We worked out on math.
You worked on your math. You must know how to count then.
Yeah.
Could you count up to 10 for me?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Can you go higher than that? Do that. See, how high can you go? I'll stop you after you've gone a little ways further. Start at 1 again.
1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Very good. Now we already know that Todd has pretty good intelligibility, although he has a little difficulty with the sibilant sounds. I have some sentences that I want you to say for me, and this will help us evaluate articulation a little bit more.
All right.
Listen to me. We bought my father 2 new sun lamps.
We want my father to new sun lamps.
Sun lamps.
Sun lamps.
You should choose a red coat hanger.
You should choose a red coat hanger.
Now I have some others. Bobby pulled down 2 go-karts.
Why?
Bobby pulled down 2 go-karts.
Bobby pulled down
2
Two.
go-karts.
go-karts.
The thing is very full.
The tree is very full.
Send his shoe measure to Charlie Jones.
Send his shoes to
Send his shoe measure to Charlie Jones.
send his shoe measure to
Charlie Jones.
Jerry Jones.
Why won't you let her run?
Why don't you let her run?
Mary never sang.
Mary never sang.
Now, the reason that we chose those sentences is that the first 2, we bought my father 2 new sun lamps, and you should choose a red coat hanger. Employ all of the major consonant positions. The last 5 sentences classify the consonants according to plosives, fricatives, sibilants, glides, and nasals. So by going through even a short test like this, we have a pretty fair idea of how well Todd is doing with his articulation. And you can see that still the sibilants are the things that stand out as presenting a major problem for him. Now I want to check just a little bit on some other features of speech. You've noticed perhaps that Todd has a little bit of hoarseness in his voice. Todd, would you say, ah? And you'll see that the voice is somewhat high-pitched, although not abnormally high-pitched, I think. Now, I'm going to, as you say, ah, I'm going to just pinch your nose for a moment, because I want to see if it makes a difference. I'm going to do it like this, Todd. Ah, like that. Now try this. E, like that. So that you see that the difference is really relatively minor. Now I'm going to ask you to say a sentence that doesn't have any nasal sounds in it. Zippers are easy to close.
Zippers are easy to close.
And I'm going to put this under your nose and have you say that again. Zippers are easy to close.
Zippers are easy to close.
And you can see that there's just a little bit of clouding on the mirror at the end, but not while he was talking. Now I want you to just put your lips together and breathe through your nose. Now you don't have to try to breathe through your nose. I just want you to do this. Can you see that on the camera? It is, you're getting some clouding with that. Now I want you to say pop, 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 pop.
Ba, 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 ba.
So that you can see that even without any very elaborate tests, we're already getting indication that the pharyngeal flap is working effectively. We have other ways of testing this that are perhaps a little bit more sensitive than that. I'm going to ask you to say the same things again, Todd, and I'm just going to listen here. Now I want you to say, zippers are easy to close.
Zippers are easy to close.
There was just a momentary opening of the valve when he said close, but for the most part, the valve was completely closed. You want to hear that, Todd? Say zippers are easy to close.
Zippers are easy to close.
Now say Mama made some lemon jam.
Mama made some lemon jam.
Did you hear the difference?
Yeah,
You could
I
hear-
heard that thing in my ear.
Yeah, you could hear a lot of it in your ear, couldn't you? Now, while
Not all of it.
we're talking about this, let's just try another little
Ooh,
test here.
what?
You know how this one works? You have to hold your nose and blow, and you're going to blow that ball clear up to the top. Good boy. Now, can you do that without holding your nose? Now, that's got it about to 80%. Can you make it go all the way? Let's just see here.
All the way up.
All the way up. Why, sure you can. And when we checked with the mirror, there isn't any nasal leakage there. Now I've got a harder job for you.
All right.
This time you have to go like a vacuum cleaner. You go, you hold your nose, and draw it up to the top. Oh, you did it. Try it again. That's excellent. Now, can you do that without holding your nose? You did it all the way to the top, and that's a very good performance, Todd. So again, it shows that that operation that they did was an effective one for you. Now let's just look at your lips for a moment. Put them together. You turn toward the side here. Now I want you to say mum, 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 mum.
Mum, 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 mum.
Now, pa, 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 pa.
Ba, 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 ba.
Now I've got something else for you to say. I want you to say ta, 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 ta.
Ta, 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 ta.
I don't know if we can see that very well. Let's try again. Ta, 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 ta.
Ta, 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 ta.
You can see, perhaps you can see that he has a somewhat obtrusive movement, but the movements of the tongue are very specific. Now say la, 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 la.
La, 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 la.
Can you go quite rapidly with that? La, 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 la.
La, 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 la.
And once it gets the tongue stabilized, it goes into position and performs rather accurately. Now, the other one that we asked you to say was pataka, 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 pataka.
Patika, patika.
How fast can you go with that? Not very fast. Okay.
This is
These are oral motor coordination tests that we use to assess general specificity of action. And I think that Todd has demonstrated those very nicely this afternoon. One other test which I think, or a couple of other tests which we might use here, we're always, of course, interested in the mental development of a child. Todd has had considerable interest in this Sigwin form board. And let's just put some of these out. Let me put them out, would you, Todd?
all right.
Okay.
You put them out. There's one left.
Now, let's just watch you put those back in. Ready, go. You can see that there's no random searching here. He knows where he wants to put that, and he did it all within about 25 seconds. That's not accurately timed, but I can check with our scoring sheet and see how he did with that, but I think he did very well. Now, Todd, I'm going to say some sentences for you, and then I want you to say the sentence back to me exactly like I say it to you.
All right.
Jack had a dog.
Jack had a dog.
The dog's name was Rover.
The dog name was Rover.
The dog liked to play with Jack's shoes.
The dog liked to play with Jack's shoes.
Jack would hide his shoes for Rover to find.
Jack will find the shoes for Rover to find.
When Rover found the shoe and brought it back to Jack.
When Rover found the shoe, he brought it back to Jack.
He was a good dog.
He was a good dog.
But Rover liked to run away with the shoe and make Jack catch him.
But Rover liked to run away with Jack's shoe.
And make Jack catch him.
And make Jack catch him.
Okay. Now, this went almost to his age level, and I think under the circumstances we'd have to assume that that was a good performance. Now, since he's had some ear trouble, let's just see if we can check rather roughly some of his auditory discrimination. What we have here is a series of pictures of a can, a fan, and a pan. The basic sound of the words is the same, except that they have different consonants. I'm going to ask you very softly now to point to the picture that I named for you. Show me the coat. So he pointed to the right picture for coat. Show me the bowl. And he pointed to bowl. Show me the rat. Show me the mouse. So he's able to pick these out very distinctly, and whereas this, or very accurately, whereas this is not a very discriminating test of sound discrimination, it's at least it gives you some idea of the processes that we go through. Now, I don't know if you can see inside his mouth when he opens it widely. Can you do that? Now we're going to see if we can look inside of Todd's mouth for just a moment. Will you open that wide, Todd? You say, ah. Now I'm going to try to put the tongue blade in. We'll see if we can see that. Ah. Very good. Now let's see your teeth here. Put your teeth together. You can see that the occlusion is in cross-bite relationship with some of the teeth, that this upper incisors are locked inside the lowers. Now, let's demonstrate something else for them while we have you here. I want you to say that la, 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 la again.
La 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 la.
Now, ta, 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 ta.
Ta 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 ta.
You can see that he shifts to a little obtrusive position with the tongue when he does that. Now, let's show them that. And Todd, I think we were able to show them that little interruption of sound that you got when I tapped on your cheek. It showed that the air was escaping over the left side of your tongue. There are a couple of other things that I want to demonstrate by way of showing how we estimate language development. Here's a little test that I asked you about. Can you tell me something that cries?
A baby.
A baby cries. What purrs?
A cat.
A cat. What slams?
A door.
A door. What clinks? What clinks? Do you know that word? Well, you gave me an answer a while ago. Let's try this one. What percolates?
Coffee.
Coffee percolates. What cruises? Do you know something that cruises? Okay. This is a list of words that become progressively more difficult for a child to answer because each one is a little bit less familiar to him than the one before. Now, to get a somewhat objective record of speech intelligibility, we have a list of 50 words. I'm not going to ask Todd to read all 50 of these words, but I'm going to ask him to read the first 10 of these. Would you start out with this one, Todd?
Not.
Not.
Say.
Say.
Mop.
Mop.
Real.
Reel.
Cake.
Cake.
Paw.
Paw.
Vial.
Vial. Heat. Oh, excuse me. Next one.
Heat.
This one.
Look.
Look.
Kill.
Kill. Now, I've said each one of those words after Todd, so you could be sure and understand them. But the way the test would be administered would be to present this recording to a group of listeners and let them judge whether or not they could write down the correct word. If they write down the wrong word, of course, that's a mistake. And this is a test of speech intelligibility. It offers one way of checking whether or not a child is making progress in his therapy. One of the other tests that I gave him was of auditory memory span. There are obviously a number of other tests that I could provide for you in trying to evaluate him, but I think that this will give you a fair idea of some of the things that we attempt to judge. I think I'll let Todd go now, and then I will give you a little summary in just a moment. With Todd's assistance, I think I've been able to demonstrate some of the major features of the speech and language examination that we would attempt in an evaluation of a child with cleft lip and palate. You'll notice that his general speech intelligibility varied from fairly good to only moderately good. At times, word intelligibility was quite good. His articulation shows some defects, particularly involving the sibilant sounds, the S, the Z, the SH, the ZH, and occasionally a substitution of a T for a K or a D for a G. Vocal resonance is generally satisfactory. There is some hoarseness, which perhaps is due to a rather chronic upper respiratory infection, but I suspect is present a good bit of the time for him. Oral motor coordination, which we evaluated, I think is a plus. He has relatively specific, accurate, rhythmic oral motor activities. The occlusion leaves something to be desired because there is relatively little maxillary space, and this tends to reduce the amount of maneuver room available to his tongue, and I think is responsible for some of the tongue tip variations that we see and hear. The palatopharyngeal valve, by our little tests, is effective. It would be interesting, of course, to have x-rays, but we do not have those available to us at the present time. You notice that the lower lip is somewhat protuberant with reference to the upper, but that the lips do function fairly well together. Our estimates of language show that he does have an auditory memory span, which is roughly within his age range. His vocabulary development is perhaps just a little short, although I think it's very close to his age range. And of course, his reading demonstration, I think, was a rather good one. Todd has been receiving speech therapy for the past 2 or 3 years at the University Speech Clinic, and I think is making good progress with this. I think he's also receiving it in the public schools. And I believe that the program that has been mapped out for him of general dental, surgical, and speech therapy will be effective. Thank you.
You've been listening to a presentation from the University of Michigan School of Dentistry, which is dedicated to supporting open learning and open educational resources. This recording is licensed under the Creative Commons. It may be reused and redistributed for nonprofit use. Please attribute materials to the University of Michigan School of Dentistry and redistribute under this same license. For more information on how this and other University of Michigan School of Dentistry recordings may be used, visit www.dent.umich.edu/license.